So welcome everybody. We're here for another case study with one of our best customers, one of our most, the progress has been great so far, Mr. Sidney Green. So welcome, Sidney.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So we always start off, obviously just tell us a little bit about yourself. Just give us an introduction if you don't mind. Just who are you, where are you from, why are you studying Chinese?
I'm 75. I am a retired Anglican church minister. I've been married to my wife Jackie for 51 years this year. We've got three boys, two of them married, we've got 4 grandchildren. 3 boys are all in Australia with us now. We emigrated in 2004 to be all together as a family, and we love it. Best move we ever made, actually. I've been, as I said, a church minister, but also a university lecturer. And you don't actually retire in this job. In fact, I did a PhD in my retirement here in Australia. But done that. And my interest in Chinese began really in the UK when I was a school chaplain at an English public school. I mean, for those for whom public schools are state schools. In England,
Yes.
They're not. They're private schools. And we had lots of Chinese students who come over for education there. And we used to get friendly with the parents there, and we got very friendly with one particular set of parents and students. So friendly, in fact, that they invited us to the wedding of their son, and where I was able to preach. And I was so fascinated by the Chinese language and culture that I really want to study this. I really want to know more about it. I'd studied Greek and Hebrew for my ministry training. But Greek and Hebrew both have alphabets, and when I discovered that Chinese doesn't have an alphabet, that was something completely different. And I love a challenge, and I thought this is going to be great. So I started to learn Chinese, or tried to. My first thing was to buy a set of CDs, which I did. I bought in an airport in Singapore. Of course, it was just sound. There was no text, no characters, just phrases. And it was, helpful, but we didn't learn much about Chinese or China. And when we emigrated to Australia, we found that there are so many Chinese people in Australia.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's something I noticed when I went to Melbourne. There's 2 languages in the airport, and all the signs are in English and Chinese.
Absolutely. So I thought this is really good. And so I made some Chinese friends and began, trying to learn. I even went to a night class at the university for a term, but that really didn't help very much. Again, it was more like phrases, and again, characters were never really taught, and characters are so important to me. And so I started to try and find other ways of learning, but I couldn't. I was totally frustrated, couldn't do it. Bought textbooks, so boring, very difficult. And being 75, I began to believe the myth, I think, that maybe I was too old. It was impossible to learn at this age, But that was wrong, of course, because when I started looking online and looking at some of the courses that were on offer, some of them were pretty useless. And I found Mandarin Blueprint. And actually, my first impression of Mandarin Blueprint was that sounds pretty useless as well.
When
it talked about movies, what they're on about. But I actually bought the pronunciation course, and I bought it. It's free now, of course, but I actually bought it.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's all right. That's how it works. And loved that, and loved you guys, the way you do it. And so I, thought, okay, let's push the boat out. And I went for the Blueprint course and did a bit of the trial and tried it. And I just loved it. And, I've been hooked ever since. So good. I'm on character, I think, 302 now.
Wow, fantastic. I actually haven't kept track of your progress recently, but that's really good to hear. So you're well, I mean, in terms of characters, you're over halfway done with the current format. So that's really fantastic.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at. And I'm saying I'm at it. I'm not saying I'm good at it, but that's what I've got on the course.
Well, I mean, you made it so far, and you're clearly very motivated. So, I mean, you must have had some success with the method, otherwise you wouldn't be so.
I love it. I just love the fact that now I can look at Chinese characters, at least the ones you present to me, and I can read them, and I can do it without pinyin now. That's the really exciting thing, and actually understand what they say, and it's really exciting. It is very fulfilling, you know.
That's fantastic.
And, yeah, so what I'm hoping it will do, and I think it's beginning to do, is to open a door for me into this rich culture, art and literature, and just the way that this vast number of people in the world think, because it's so different.
Yes,
and
it is.
Yes. Yeah, and talking to my Chinese friends, I think I really want to know more about that. So that's where I'm at the moment. I hope that makes sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense. That's fantastic. I mean, there's so much there that you just said. I'm trying to think of what to address first. So, first of all, yes, the Chinese culture, the Chinese people are very much worth getting to know. It's not just some old cliche. In fact, you might have seen that video I made, me and Phil made recently, where I'm speaking in Chinese at the beginning, and we. Sorry, say again.
You're sitting on the bench.
Exactly, yes. And like I wrote that script with the real the reason in mind of like trying to get to more of the lesser, like the how do you say it? My English vocabulary is so bad these days. But like sort of the less tangible benefits of speaking Chinese. Like forget about career, money, all that stuff. If that interests you, that it really is worth getting in tune with the Chinese people, because there's so many things, but one of the key things that, and Phil and I both believe this, is that, I don't know, you've spent obviously a lot of time with Chinese people, but one of the key things is they tend to listen when you talk, in terms of, if you have maybe a difference of opinion on something, things aren't so, how would you say, controversial and things like that. They can just accept different points of view. They might not agree with you, but that's one thing that I've noticed.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I've been 3 times to China now, and I just go for I go on as like a tourist trip, but I don't. The sights are great. I mean, I love the place. I love been to Chengdu, seen the pandas, but I just love more just sitting in a cafe or somewhere and just listening and trying to talk. That's the most exciting bit, really.
Yeah.
Haggling with sellers, I love that. They have a shock when I can actually say something. They come trying to sell me things, and I haggle with them, and they're quite taken aback. I think.
Yeah.
The funniest thing was people on the coach tour kept coming to me and saying, "Will you go and buy me some at the price you got it for?"
Yeah. That's really common as well. You end up becoming everyone's translator or go-between. Yeah.
China is just a lovely, lovely place.
It is. Yeah. I mean, it has problems like every country, but it really is worth visiting. It's worth living in, obviously. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. But I want to try and stay on track as much as I can here, because I want to be respectful of your time. Otherwise, we'll chat for hours. But so just let me pinpoint the initial problem that you were having here. So you came to, you wanted to learn Chinese because, of more, I guess, the less tangible reasons that I was talking about. You wanted to communicate better with people because you think it's worthwhile to do so. But what was you said the major problem was characters, like boring textbooks, that sort of thing?
Yeah, textbooks didn't help at all. Actually, I found it quite hard. I bought those books, you got those books with masses of squared paper where you copy the character out hundreds of times, things like that. And I just couldn't work it out. Again, it may be my age, my memory is different, but I found that using the movie method, it seemed to bring another part of my brain into operation that is sort of quite different, and it works, so it's characters the thing, and it's just the excitement of that. I've always had that excitement. That's why I enjoyed Greek and Hebrew, because Hebrew looked weird when I first saw it. And I thought I could practice code. Phil called it a code the other day in the last podcast, I think, when he was talking about translation.
Yeah,
it's like a code for meaning, and this is another code, and I was just determined to crack it,
Yeah, so you're a man that likes a challenge.
Yeah, I love the challenge of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's clear. So that's fantastic. So the major weakness, you struggled for how long did you struggle because obviously I'm not sure if you already mentioned, but you were trying to learn Chinese for how long before finding us?
It's been a few years, but on and off because I was so bored of it, I just stopped.
Yeah, that happens.
And then I pick it up again and try again. But this thing, as your method's just hooked, and I'll keep going to the end.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And by the way, I did say, you're on character 300, which is brilliant, but and I understand you've also started doing some reading. You've started looking at the paragraphs, opinions, dialogues, this sort of thing.
Yeah, they're fascinating. I love them. And
it's another good code to unlock, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, Phil was saying on the last podcast, I think, that no one has yet sent in and perhaps they have now, but no one had sent in a video of themselves reading or doing something, and I thought one day I'm going to do that. Don't ask me to do it on videos.
No, I won't. I won't put you on the spot. But yeah, do that. We always recommend, I'm looking at the camera now, just to make sure, we always recommend anyone on the course who's following it, including Sidney, yourself as well. Yeah, please send us in you reading out loud some of the content. We have lots of content that you can unlock later on in the course. We'd be happy to break down any issues or tell you where you're doing really well as well. It's not just going to be us criticizing you.
Yeah, I think one of the things you said in the last podcast as well was, sometimes because you guys are so advanced, you forget what it was like at the beginning, you know what I mean? And it's such a big thing, I think, to actually record yourself and send it off.
Yeah.
And I'll do it. I'll do it soon.
Yeah, we're looking forward to hearing about that as well. But another thing that just as an aside, because you mentioned we don't know what it's like to be, or sometimes we forget what it's like to be a beginner again. Like we're really jealous of. I know this sounds really quite, but we're really jealous of someone like in your position that's starting pretty much fresh with Chinese with a very small sort of low level, and jumping into the method straight away. We'd because that you get all those sort of aha moments,
Absolutely. Yeah, it is amazing.
Because ours were few and far between when we were doing it, but so that's fantastic. So you've sort of already answered this, but just to be clear, so what would it mean to you, and if you could speak and read Chinese fluently or at the level that you want to get to? Yeah.
Well, first of all, a sense of personal achievement. I think that would be something, because say it's a challenge, and I want to crack it and do it. But mostly because the love that I've got for Chinese people, they are fascinating, and just to be able to communicate with them in their own language, they deserve that, I think, because they are so friendly. I just want to know more. They think so differently. Their way of, when we eventually talk, they talk so much in English to me, I have to challenge them to speak in Chinese to me, because they want to learn English. It's such a problem to get them to do that, because they want to learn English. But, when we do talk, their mindset is so different and fascinating. And just to be part of that is really something I want to do. I think it broadened my mind, broadened my understanding of the world so much more. So
if you would you spend more time maybe visiting China? Would you come to China, maybe travel a bit more, if you could speak the language a bit better?
I would love to. I would love to do that. There's a bit of a problem. This is a personal thing. A bit of a problem. The last time I went, I had a bit of a collapse in Beijing,
oh dear.
It sort of right. I was fine. It was just in the hotel, and so I came home and I broke my ankle in this fall. And of course, she doesn't go with me. She has no interest. No, I say no interest. She's interested for me, but it's not her thing. So I go on my own, which in a sense is quite nice. I'm free to do, and look at what I like. And but because I had this fall, I'm having to persuade my family that I can go again now. I'm better,
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I'm sure it was China's fault that you fell. It was. If you go to America, or so, that's fine. I said
it had nothing to do with it. Purely coincidental. yes, I would love to go again, and but to be able to fluently speak to the people would be amazing.
Yes, yeah, that's brilliant. So that's one of my, I really like it when people have those kind of goals. I mean, any goal is fine. I do not judge whatsoever, but I think in terms of the most effective goal, like again, we had Chad on recently, one of our other very successful clients there, and he's sort of similar to you. His goal is not anything that tangible. It's just, I want to access this culture. And I find personally, because I had a similar goal, I find that the people with that type of goal from the get-go usually are the most successful. That's what I personally found, a lot of people start off with more tangible stuff, like, oh, I want to do it for a career or just a personal, I want to just see if I can do it. But then they end up turning into that. They end up turning into, oh, I just want to access this cool culture.
Yeah, I'm too old for a career now. Past that.
You said, oh yeah. Speaking of career, you mentioned that you're a preacher. Is that what the title, or is it priest, or how would you like to call that?
I'm an Anglican priest. Yeah.
Anglican priest, because
university lecturer.
Oh, right. So yeah, I mean the Christian community is surprisingly big and growing in China. Were you aware of that?
Very much aware. I've been visiting the churches in China and communicating with them for a while, and I have friends who are involved in China with them. To be honest, and I don't know whether it's okay, I wasn't sure how much we could speak about religion and China, whether that would compromise. You may want to get rid of this, but whether that would compromise you and your work in China, because I know, they're not very keen on Christianity in China at the moment.
Well, it'd be fine. I don't mind. I don't think it's to that level. But the reason why I mentioned it was because my fiance's grandfather's sister. So I don't know what that makes her, but she recently passed away. But she was the lead. She was actually one of the only female priests, I guess you would say, like the equivalent of a priest. I'm not sure. In Shanghai, the entire. Yeah, and she's very, very popular. Spoke English perfectly. She died at the age of 97 a few weeks ago, actually, unfortunately. But yeah, it was. She was just a legend, really, and she had like a huge foreign following, Western following in Shanghai, obviously. It just surprised me. One of the things that I learned, about that the Christian religion is actually so popular. It just, people say that China's a very secular country, and it is, but yeah, that's one thing that people might not know about.
I was in Kunming. I went to the Three Self Church, the state church there. It's a big building. It holds 3,000 people. When I went to the service, I went to one of the services. I had to queue outside because there was already a service on. It was packed with young people and not just old people, They streamed out and we went in, and as we came out, there was another lot waiting to come in. Apparently they have 5 services a day and it's packed out.
Wow.
And it holds about 3,000 people. And I thought, people say it's a secular country, but there's a lot of other religions as well, of course, but Christianity is quite strong there.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
and one of my would be, I think I said that to you, would be able to speak about my faith in Chinese.
Wow.
The Chinese people, I would love to be able to do that.
Yeah.
I don't think the vocabulary would be quite difficult, I think.
I actually tried to read bits of the Bible once in Chinese, and yeah, it's a pretty tough old read. It's tough enough in English, to be honest, but yeah.
Well, I've got a Chinese one, the Chinese Bible, but at present it's a bit of a mystery for me.
Absolutely. Well, that is like the ultimate for you in your position. That's the ultimate code to crack. You've got an awesome goal there. Be able to read and understand the Chinese Bible. That'd be a fantastic goal. I wouldn't be able to get through it, because obviously I'm not as interested in the material. But if that's your, you'd be so dedicated to understanding it. That would be a fantastic goal for you.
It is one.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Okay.
Yeah. So, What about the actual method itself? So this is a question we like to ask. It's what three parts of Mandarin Blueprint has made the biggest impact on you, do you think? I mean, you don't have to name three, but what's this? Yeah.
Characters are the heart of the language. I love the calligraphy. I just love it.
Mm.
I remember being in filming and seeing this guy doing characters on the pavement with a brush with water, and they were so beautiful.
Yes.
It has a beauty about it that is lovely. And but more than that, they're the key, I think, to the whole language, and it's so exciting to be able to look at them. And actually, I know what that means. Although the most difficult thing, I think, to me is when I see, when I was in China, sometimes you look at shops and signs, and sometimes the script that they use is quite difficult. They're very fat figures, fat characters. And I found them difficult to read. The printed characters are much easier, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but I love them.
So what's the second thing?
I'm trying to think of the three things there. This characters, pronunciation was something, your course on pronunciation was fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
I'm not saying that I've learned. I sometimes think I need to go over it again. I need to do it again and again, really. But it was so good. And I think, as you said, I think on it, to start there was a really good point. Really, really fantastic way to start learning.
Yeah, I mean, we really wanted to make the Mandarin Blueprint Method first, because that's the bit that we're most excited about. But in terms of the whole scheme of things, you need to start with pronunciation, so it made the most sense,
And then just be able to listening, the listening, just be able to hear without seeing, and not characters, be able to just listening to people speaking and think, I actually understand that.
Sorry, say that last bit again. My alarm went off then.
Listening is one of the things, to be able to listen to somebody speaking in Mandarin and think, I actually understand that. I'm amazed at each time it happens. I love it. It's a great feeling. Great feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the three parts. Just name the three how you divide it into three. What three do you use?
Oh, you mean in the Mandarin Blueprint Method?
Yeah.
So, be phase one would be characters. The hands are moving method. Is that what you mean? Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so it's characters basic. Well, we've sort of divided it into more than that now, I guess, because all the work we've been doing on the right side. But yeah, so the characters is the first phase of it, and then it's vocabulary. Putting the words together, like new vocabulary unlocked. So learning individual compound words made of more than one character, and one character, of course. And then we give you sentences for those. And the next phase is conversations, stories, and dialogues. It's
fascinating. I love those, actually, and the opinions, things like that. Yeah. I was reading just one this morning about the use of the mobile phone for banking.
Oh.
And, I had it on my desk the other day when I had a Chinese friend in here. He just happened to see it, and he was started to talk to me straight away about that, how important that was in China. To use your phone, and they don't go to the bank anymore. They just use the phone for everything. So it was quite relevant. It was so up to date. I thought that was really good.
Thanks. I mean, we've got Annie. Annie's been fantastic. Annie from the pronunciation mastery course. She's a highly qualified teacher. She's very smart, and she's been putting together pretty much all of the written content for us. She's here full time in our office, and she's doing so well with that. We're really happy with that as well. So.
I haven't done yet, which I want to do. I haven't really. I've tried it, but I haven't really started shadowing.
Right.
Because it's just I'm trying to work out how I get the actual vocals of the conversations and things onto my phone to be able to walk around and they're on my desktop at the moment, and I want to try and get them onto my phone so that I can listen to them and walk around. Then I'll probably do that.
Right. Well, actually, it's funny you say that, because one of the things that I'm going to make while Phil's away, actually on holiday, is EPUBs with the audio, and the text, so you can do that.
All right. That's really good.
Yeah, so you can have it with you, and you'll have, hopefully, I'm going to make it so they have sort of relatively big play buttons, so you can just press play and watch it. And another thing is, once you start to get more advanced, you can, and you want to say, maybe, you can still use our materials, and we highly recommend it, but if you get to the point where, you want to branch out, maybe you want to start looking at more advanced things, or more things that are about your personal interest that we don't have on our site. I love, and I still do this now, I use a program called Link, LINGQ.com. Have you heard us talk about that before?
Yeah, the chap called Steve somebody, isn't it?
Steve Kaufman.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I really should get money from that guy, because I'm always recommending. I might.
I glanced at it. I haven't seen it. I think you had a clip from somebody.
It's definitely we talk about it in the pronunciation mastery course at the end, to say go and sign up for this if you want to take your reading and listening to the next level before, if you want to take, and because you can, you can download your own ebooks in Chinese or whatever it is, and you can listen to it on the go and read it and stuff like that. So we're sort of going. Yeah,
that's my really next step to do. I want to do more properly.
Yeah, but don't rush it. You're doing fantastically, obviously, and you it might be frustrating for you trying to move on to that right now, with all the other stuff you've got going on. But that's just something to think about for the future.
I downloaded a kid's story.
Oh yeah, a little horse.
A little horse. Yeah, it's a childish story, but it was really, because it was all in characters. It was just lovely. There was no opinion, and it was lovely to work on it, and I enjoyed that. Yeah,
that's great. That's something that I remember trying. A lot of people go for the children's books, and they actually end up being surprisingly difficult. Because they're designed, because kids, they know Chinese, right? Chinese kids, but it's designed to teach them more complicated Chinese that they might not have heard of. So I did that in my early days, like jumping into children's books, and I was like, oh man, this doesn't make me feel smart. That can still work out very, very well. So when I want to get him, because the characters for you, the character method seems to be the most sort of the key thing for you, the thing that sort of turned it all around. Can you break that down in a little bit more detail? Like what part, break down the method and what you like about the actual character learning method specifically, or what interests you about it specifically.
Well, I like the way that you are going to be making the movie, first of all. That's good. Getting my characters together, the male, female, and the fictional characters, and so that was really interesting. Doing that, some of them are quite peculiar, but that makes them stand out, in the movies. This one, I think one of the questions I saw on your questions was, why was I skeptical? At first, I was very skeptical about that. How can having my Auntie Nellie in a movie actually help? But it actually did, it does really, and it's quite interesting. So the movies, the movie system was really helpful to have that visual representation of the character with its components. So the movies and the props together really work well. I enjoy that.
Did it take you a while to because you said that you were skeptical about the character learning thing at first?
Because again, I think it's because I come from an academic background.
Right.
And that isn't the way you learn, and and it isn't the way you teach, and it isn't the way you learn. Perhaps it should be, but it isn't. And
right.
I don't think the university wouldn't go for it. But and so it's quite alien to me. And at first I struggled with it. I thought, is this going to work? But now, I can create a movie so quickly. The speed at which that happens now that surprises me sometimes. Although sometimes you realise may have done it too quickly, but Anki tells you that. I think when
exactly, yes.
Yeah, but Anki is, the only chore I think in the whole course is Anki, but I love it. But you feel like you get up in the morning and you see that number on the Anki thing, you think, oh gosh, I got to do that, by today. But I always do it. I
Good.
always do it, and it's such a sense of achievement to do it.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and it's so helpful. I love it. So, yeah.
And that's why we can guarantee that you're going to do well, is because you take Anki seriously. And it doesn't have to be Anki. It's just doing flashcard reviews is so vital, especially this early stage, because you're taking on so much new information, aren't you? All these props, actors, characters, words. Yeah, so you have to keep it all in your head. And that's the only way. That's the most efficient way of doing it, right?
And the good thing is, something that gave you trouble early in Anki, it comes down again and you get it, and you think, gosh, I got that first time this time. That's good. It's a real encouragement, I find, Anki. I like.
Yeah, and it is addictive. I mean, it might not be. I guess it's a new habit to take on, isn't it? Like doing this thing every day that takes at least half an hour, possibly longer. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say to my wife, I'm just going to do my Anki, and she laughs. But she now knows what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, but then after a while, it becomes just a part of you. Like I haven't done Anki for a little while because it's like I just haven't needed to be honest. Except my Spanish is, I'm sort of putting it by the wayside for a month or two whilst I focus on other stuff. But it feels weird not doing it after a while, doesn't it? Like if you miss a day or two or something like that. I don't know if you have yet.
I haven't missed a day, and
That's brilliant.
I dread missing a day. I would, like, I'm going away for the weekend.
Yeah.
But Anki will go with me.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't escape it. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. It's good.
Fantastic. So you mentioned the pronunciation as well. So the pronunciation mastery course helped quite a bit. Like, do you find that the Mandarin Blueprint method, like with the actors and the sets, and the rooms that represent the tones, do you think that have you found that affects your pronunciation in any way? Or your memory of the characters in terms of their pronunciation, is it affected the way you speak or listen?
Like the last character I did was Jen, to see, and
right.
I just know it's a fourth tone because in my mind I know the picture is behind. For me, Anne is my local church. Actually, it's Anglican. Anglican church, and if it's in the backyard, well, the backyard happens to be a cemetery.
Right.
So I know from the movie the character J.I. is Jackie, my wife, and she's in the cemetery. She sees this character, which actually is an eye on human legs, but the fact that it's in the cemetery, I know it's fourth tone. It's back. It's the backyard of the church. It works. It's just amazing. I love it.
That's so good to hear, man. It's really good to hear because we were starting out before we fully released this course. We practiced with clients for, I'd say, hundreds of hours, doing like we are now. We'd have lessons exactly like this. We'd just chat using live video, and we did that for so long, with so many people, because we had to keep testing it. We just weren't sure if the world was ready for this sort of thing. Yeah. Yeah, it's really good to hear that you're taking to it well. So how long does it take you to learn a character these days, on average?
Oh, sometimes in just half a minute. The movies come so quickly, and I know it, and it's there. Yeah. But and because you can just draw the picture back in your mind, it's so clever. I love it. It's a minute, maybe half a minute to a minute.
Yeah, I mean, do you find that? I mean, some of them just click immediately, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Some of it more difficult.
Yeah, and then exactly, yeah, and then some you're like, how? I remember because obviously I learned all my characters using this method or the earlier version of it, and like some would just like drive me nuts. I'd just like, how do I imagine that? And then I'd walk away for 5 minutes. Or I'd get some inspiration from somewhere else, or just take a break, or whatever it is, and then bang, and then it sort of writes itself after a while.
But I like the fact that in the course at the beginning, you give us lots of help to make the move.
Yes.
And that slowly is faded out, but I'm like now I'm on my own doing it. Don't get the help that we did before. But it's good because we've had all the help, and you can just do it now.
Yeah,
and it speeds up, and that speeds it up. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it sped up making it as well, that's for sure. Because obviously 300 videos for the first 100 characters, but we want to make absolutely sure that we'd covered every single base, like every single point is out there, that, you know, every single guideline, just to cover all our bases, make sure that, because we found, you don't seem to have this issue at all, but there's a lot of people that do this method, and again, we learned this from our many hours of teaching the method. A lot of people, or at least a chunk of our clients, would overthink things. That was a huge thing. You know, they would try and, there was this one guy that was trying to invent new objects like that didn't exist. like he was the, you know, I don't know if you've seen the films, the Matrix films, but he reminded me of the architect, like the guy, you know, the old guy looks like the colonel, the KFC colonel who makes the Matrix. And I was like, just calm down, just use stuff from your real life, you know. It just take it easy. He's like, but now this thing has like this weird thing attached to it. I was like, just imagine stuff you already know, you know. But then other people, and these are the people that would do so well, usually were people with very limited time. They would just, okay, I got a dog there, I got a stick there, the dog bites a stick, done. Okay, next, you know, and just move straight on.
So it is now, and you think it won't come back, but it does come back. It is there, you know.
And you've got exactly the right attitude about rush through it, you know, rush through the scenes, just you know, take the training wheels off, rush through them, and if there's any problem, well, there might be a problem with how you've done it, but Anki will tell you, right?
You don't know, I don't know that obviously the movie didn't work there. Try again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it takes a few seconds to do that. So I'm really glad that you've got that down, and everyone watching this who's also doing the hands and moving method or the Mandarin Blueprint Method should also take that under advisement. Just trust your instincts. That's one of the key things. That's one of our number one rule, is keep it simple, and the next one is trust your instincts, right? And you seem to have taken that on really well. So fantastic. So we've already sort of talked about this one, but our next question here is, what are the results that you've achieved? You've clearly learned 300 characters. You know, you've learned how to read, write, understand, and pronounce over 300 characters now. What else would you say that you've achieved? If you could break down the specifics.
I'm trying to think about that. Well, I mean, obviously, I find it when I'm speaking with my Chinese friends. I mean, again, when I can get them to speak Mandarin, they will speak to me in English, and I will try and answer them in Chinese.
Yes.
And they're surprised when I do that. And that's an achievement for me. I find that's really good that I can do that, which, you know, try and do that. It's usually very important. But they used to communicate. They do know what I mean.
Yeah.
I think that's the other thing is not being afraid to be, you know, to try and maybe fail or not fail, and they will correct me, which is quite good as well. And I don't mind that at all. I love it when I do that.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Well, I mean, you've learned to read as well. You're reading whole sentences, because that's something that I think a lot of people who aren't on the method would be interested in. So it's not just about learning characters. What was it like? Walk me through, what was it like, sort of, because I'm interested to know this genuinely, personally as well. Like, when did you realize you were making that transition? Like, what was it like making that transition from memorize, like just recognizing individual characters and words, to reading a sentence or a dialogue or a conversation, or a paragraph in Chinese? Like, you've made that transition, have you not?
Yes. Oh yeah, I can do that. And
I mean, that's huge. That's a huge thing.
It's a huge jump. And when I first did it, I thought, this is amazing. And I would do it again. I'd start at the beginning again and read it again. And I can say, yeah, I can do it. I can do it. It's really quite exciting. Yeah. And
that's what we call a breakthrough. You know, we talk about that in the pronunciation mastery as well. And that was Steve Kaufman's idea of a breakthrough. I was really inspired by that. You know, you get these little breakthroughs, as you focus. As long as you put in the time like you've been doing, you get these breakthroughs every now and then. It could be once a month, or it could be once every 3 months, or once a year. But you get these breakthroughs from moving on to, you're like, wow, I have gone up a huge level here. You know.
It reminds me. So it's a bit of a story, but it reminds me when I was a young student in theological college. We were taught philosophy, and I could not understand a word of it.
In English.
I used to sit in the class and think, what is this guy on about? And I can remember, I know the class, I know the place. I was sitting at the desk, and suddenly it clicked, and everything fell into place. And I knew, you know, it worked. And it's like that with this.
Right.
Suddenly you get to a point you think, gosh, that actually does work, and I can read this, you know, and you're hungry for more. Then, you know, you just want to do it again and again.
Brilliant. That's really good to hear. So, just to have let's move on to the final section here. Just want to get a sort of round everything up. It doesn't matter if we repeat ourselves or whatever. We just want to give a nice roundup on what we've talked about. So, first of all, what were you skeptical about walking in to the signing up for the method?
Okay, the method. I was skeptical because it sounded stupid.
That's not the first time we've had that.
It sounded stupid, and I'd never learned like this. You know, I'd never taught like this. It's just not academic. I've said that before. In fact, I laughed at the very idea. But for a bit of fun, I tried it, and despite all my misgivings, it worked. You know, and what I found was it was actually fun. I think that was the thing about it. It was fun in a way that academic learning never has been. You know, it's always been a chore. The more I did, and the more I sort of struggled with it, it became easier and easier. But it's always fun, and the thing about it is, although I was skeptical, the skepticism soon melted away, and I found I could do things that I never thought were possible. People thought I was mad at 17. Well, I was in my 70s when I started, and I think they thought I was mad. Wanted to learn Chinese. As everybody says, the most difficult language, you know, to learn. They say that.
Of course.
But it's not. No.
No, it's not. It's not at all. Once you take care of the writing system, the reading system, it's one of the easier ones, I think. Yeah.
So when, despite the skepticism, which was real, that has melted away now. And, I would recommend this to anybody. And particularly academics, because they'll find it the most. If they really say this isn't real learning, it is real learning. But it's learning a different way, and but it works, and I would recommend it to anybody.
That's great. So, what would you recommend about it specifically, or who would you recommend it to, and why?
Well, I recommend it because of the simplicity of the way in which you guys have arranged it, have given us a system that is actually basically simple to use, and that's why I recommend it. And because it's fun, it really is fun, and it works. I would recommend it to anybody who's fed up with textbooks, things like that. When I went to the uni course, I told you I went to a night class. The girl, the teacher was good. She was keen, but it wasn't like this. It wasn't fun like this. This is the best. And I would just I'm sorry, I can't recommend it more highly. Really.
Wow, thanks for that, Sidney. So, that's a great spot to wrap this up. So, if anyone is interested in giving it a go, even though it does sound a bit crazy, a bit silly, go ahead and click below and sign up for a free trial. We've just updated the free trial as well. So it's a lot more user-friendly, and it's a lot more engaging, and it's shorter as well. So go ahead and check that out.